Hello everyone, my name is KDS119. I would like to welcome you back to episode 3 of the Faction Warfare Chronicles. Now in the previous episodes, I've explained to you who I am and where I've came from in my history of EVE. Also I've shown you how you can accomplish great things with a few cheap frigates. Mainly in episode 2, we took down a Tengu that was worth far more than our small frigate group was. In this episode, I would like to cover a basic fit that has been widely used in Gallente militia during faction warfare. It is affectionately known as the Derptron. It is a small Atron, very cheaply fit. The fit is comprised of mainly Tech 1 or Meta modules. In the top high slots, we've got Anode light ion particle cannons. We have 3 of them here. Now as you'll notice here in the middle slot, put some separation between these turrets. I will save this for a more advanced video later, but it's mainly used for overloading. Whenever you have a higher level of thermodynamics, you can actually overload modules in order to allow them to do more damage or cycle faster to give you more DPS. Moving on to the mids, you've got a 1MN Microwarpdrive. It's upgraded, so it gives us just a little more speed. We got a medium shield extender. Then we've got a warp scrambler, Tech 1 damage control, a meta mag stab, and a micro auxiliary power core. Now the main reason for this fitting module, even with advanced fitting skills like I have, it's difficult to fit the medium shield extender on the small frigate. So you need to have this, otherwise you won't be able to use it. Now in the rig slots, we've got a small thermal, a small anti-EM, and a small anti-kinetic rigs to help with the resistance. The Atron is not designed to be a shield tank. We need these rigs right here to give us a little extra resistance so they don't get through our shield tank as quickly. Also the damage control helps with that just ever so slightly. I'll leave the full fit details in the description of the video. Let's go ahead and undock and start going over some basics of faction warfare. Okay, now that we're undocked, I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here real quick as we undock. As you look over here to the left, you can see the status of the current system that we're in. Who controls it, how much it's contested, is it upgraded, so on and so forth. Over here on the right hand side on my overview, you can see these little beacons. Now currently there's a Gallente Novice outpost and a Gallente Small outpost. Now these beacons have different sizes. The Novice, for instance, will only allow in T1 frigates or faction frigates. The Small will only let in to destroyers and Tech 2 frigates. Mediums are larger, and then the large pretty much let anything in up to capitals. Okay, let's go ahead and unpause the video and show you what happens whenever you warp to one of these beacons. It's good practice to warp to 10 off of these beacons. Unlike some missions to where beacons are offset from the gate just a little bit, these beacons are right on the gate. So sometimes whenever you warp to 0, you'll get stuck in the gate, and this isn't a good thing if you're in the middle of an engagement or something. By warping to 10, you still land at 0 on the gate, but you're not obstructed by the gate if you need to warp away or something. It's also a good idea to learn how to use your directional scanner. Now notice I've set my range to 150 million. 150 million kilometers equals 1 AU. By setting it to 1 AU, I can click the scan button and hopefully see what's inside of the Gallente Small outpost as I approach it. Now here I'm going to shorten the range of my scan. I'm going to drop it down to 10 million. This should give me a more precise number of what could be inside of this Gallente Small outpost. Now that I've shortened my distance, all that I see is a Manticore on scan. Now Manticore is a stealth bomber, so I know it can take it. And potentially if it's an unfriendly Manticore, it's just going to cloak up and run away whenever I warp in. Since I'm in a friendly system right now, the NPC that's inside of this small complex will not shoot at me. He's friendly. But now he still shows up as a little red icon on my screen. Now I don't have NPCs up on my overview because typically I don't bother with them unless I'm out offensive plexing. If you're inside of a friendly complex, do not shoot the NPCs. they stick around, and in case somebody else comes in to attack it that's a war target, they'll actually shoot at them and help you. Now here all that I'm doing is I see that the NPC is off of the button, which typically whenever there's not been anyone in here, they're right on the button. I believe that Manticore may have actually been in here, but cloaked whenever he saw me on short scan. So I'm burning down to see if I can decloak him. Odds are I'm not going to be able to decloak him, and he's already warped away, but it's worth a shot. Since I'm in a friendly system, and it's just me and the NPC in here, the timer starts to count down. Now once this timer actually reaches 0, I'll gain some loyalty points, and the system will not be as contested. When you're defensive plexing like I am, you bring the contesting of the system down a little bit. When you're offensive plexing, you actually bring up the contesting of the system, meaning that whenever it reaches 100%, it becomes vulnerable. A key thing about whenever you're inside these plexes, whenever the timer starts counting down close to 0, you need to be at least 25 kilometers off of the actual button. Now you probably want to be a little shorter than that, because I've been at 25 kilometers from the button, meaning the little thing that has the timer underneath it, and I've gotten screwed out of some loyalty points, but it's okay, it happens. It's just a simple game mechanic that messed up. Not in my favor. So be sure that whenever the timer is getting close to 0, you get close to that button, and you make sure to get those loyalty points. You don't want to have spent all this time to get the timer down and not get those loyalty points. Now go ahead and lock up the friendly to see if he's taken any damage, and my suspicions were correct. That Manticore was here, and he may come back, because this NPC has taken some damage. Now I won't bore you with sitting here through the whole timer. I'm going to go ahead and sit here and let the timer count down, and show you what happens whenever the timer finally counts down. While you guys were away, I had some people warp in and try to take the Plex away from me. Sadly, my Atron wasn't enough to take them, so I had to leave and ship up a little bit, come back in a destroyer. But now that we're in the final seconds of this, you can see what happens whenever you actually take a complex. Now that we've captured the complex, we get a mail notifying us that it's been captured with the amount of loyalty points that we receive. Now since I was defensive plexing, I won't get nearly as much loyalty points as if I were to offensive plex. For those of you just getting into faction warfare, I highly suggest that you stick to defensive plexing for a while until you get familiar with the PvP aspects of low sec and get used to flying with the ships. Plexing, as we've covered in this video, is the core of faction warfare. If your faction doesn't plex, you neither defend nor take space. So it's a constant effort to plex down your system or attack the other enemy systems. I think we're going to call it there. I would like to thank you for taking the time to watch the Faction Warfare video. I hope you've learned something through this video. If you've got any questions or comments about the video, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll get back to you quickly, or feel free to contact me in-game. Until next time, fly safe.